This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan. With your host, Bradley Summers. And get the latest from Alpena Community College with ACC President Dr. Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Good morning and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Bradley Summers, and today my first guest is Preza Morrison, Major Preza Morrison with the Salvation Army of Alpena. Hi, Preza.
Hello.
How are you today?
Hey, pretty awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
No problem at all.
As we say every week, I'm just really happy to have wonderful people like yourself talking about these wonderful programs that you're doing.
Yes, and there's so many wonderful people in this community, so I'm sure it's very hard for you.
Yeah, well, sometimes yes. No, it is. It's very difficult, but you know, I'm just very happy because you know the Salvation Army does a lot for our community. You do a lot of fundraisers, you know, to bring resources here, and then I know one of the big things that you do as an organization is some of your disaster relief services.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, sure. In 1900, there was a hurricane that took place down in Texas, and the Salvation Army, after it went through the town and destroyed and killed many people, the Salvation Army saw that there was a need to go in and try to help that community build itself back up and serve the people. And since then, since the 1900s, the Salvation Army has been doing just that across the whole world. And what we do is in times of disaster, we go in with our canteens, which are like our food trailers and food trucks, and we take them into town and we help serve the families that are there, and also we help the first responders. So here in Alpena, we have our own canteen too. And that we drive that out. We get called maybe from the fire department or the police department or some other agency when they're having a fire or some other disaster. We've done when there's been a missing person. We've taken our canteen out and we try to serve the victims and the families and also the first responders of any disaster.
Wow, those are...
And some of them I've been to. I've been to Katrina, and I went after Ground Zero, after 9/11.
Wow. So you were right at the ground level of some of the major disasters throughout the country as well.
Yes, and tornadoes and floods and, a lot of different ones. Yep.
And then you bring what you're learning back to our community as well.
Yes, and try to implement some of those things. I think it's very important because when people are going through tragedy, they need to feel that people care and then they're not forgotten. So that's why I always like to go. Like the first time I went, I was from South Dakota, Aberdeen, South Dakota, and I went to New York, and they're going like, what do you do there? Do you do cow tipping or something? You know, and so it was kind of like a little bit of humor and getting to talk to them and saying, hey, we're just here to tell you that people across the whole United States is praying for you and thinking of you, and you're cared for. And it really helps someone who's going through a difficult time. Yeah,
because sometimes, I mean, obviously some of these disasters don't affect us here in Michigan, but they do down south. And, you know, to bring that perspective, you know, to help those individuals and to bring it to our attention that these people need help as well, you know, can only make things stronger and more supportive.
Yes, yes. And again, sometimes we don't realize that some of those disasters down south do affect us. It may just take us a few months or maybe even a year or two before we go, whoa, what's that going on? Well, that's because the hurricane down there destroyed this, and now we're not able to provide that. And so, you know, we are surprised about how much it does affect us no matter where we're at. So if we can go down and help them while they're going through this time of trauma and tell them, we're here to help you pick yourself up and go forward to trying to get back your somewhat normal life.
Yeah, and that's it too, trying to go back to that normal life, which things will never be normal again.
No.
It's a new sense of normal, but just to give them that comfort level back that they've lost because of something they can't control.
Yes, that's correct.
You know, specifically in our area, what are some of the services, some of the emergency disaster services that you're providing to the citizens of Alpena and the surrounding areas?
Okay. Now for the disaster service itself, not out of our social services office, but out of the canteen itself, again, we provide meals as needed and anything that they need. Sometimes we give them support. We send them maybe, if they need housing, we provide housing. If there's other assistance, like they've lost everything in their homes from a fire, we can send them to our thrift store and they can purchase, well really they don't purchase, we give them a voucher, so for free they can go there and get the items that they need to fill their house back up. And again, whatever else, if we can't serve them, we can refer them to another agency that can help them, and we try to work really closely with the other agencies so that we can help the total person. We just don't want to give them a place for a couple days and then they get out and they're going like, okay, what do I do from here? No, we want to, you know, have it longevity. How long can we help these people to get back on their feet?
Yeah, because that sustainability is so important.
Oh yes, very very much so, because again, we don't want them to go into the system because we've dropped the ball. We need to help them, because this is a first for them. People don't have fires every single week, so they don't know what to do when they have a fire and they lose everything, or if there's another disaster and they lose everything.
And that was kind of a lead into that, you know, just before the show we were talking about, you know, how to try to break that poverty cycle in the community, and, you know, giving these, you know, the residents, you know, and empowering them with making positive and good, healthy life choices that try to keep them out of that system and being productive. And so, you know, what are some of the things and, you know, techniques or partnerships or collaborations that you're doing to try to help that?
Well, one of our programs that we're implementing is the Pathway of Hope program, and this is a program where we take families and we're trying to break, again, that generational poverty. We feel that if we can break the poverty from the parents, and the children are less likely to go into poverty. The stats are pretty high on how more successful the children are if they see the parents get out of that system and go forward. And so we have a program that will sit down with families who choose to be a part of this, and we help them make some goals, and we help them achieve those goals, and we meet with them quite often to help them, to encourage them to, once they reach this goal, to make another one. Then when they reach that one, again, each step brings them closer to sustainability. And then we keep going after that. Once they're they're sustained or stable, we don't then just say, well, we're done, let's go. You know, we're there to help support them. And then we try to do some special activities together so that all the other families can meet with them too, and maybe they can share some ideas of how they got themselves out of the system. And also if we can work with other vendors in this community, like if we have someone who needs to have their brakes fixed, well, let's find a vendor who can help and who might be willing to say, hey, we'll do it for, you know, this amount of price. And then again, the Salvation Army can help pay for that, for them to get their brakes fixed so they can go to work. Or again, if they need a birth certificate to get a job, or if they need, you know, a phone card for their card. So that's just some of the things that we can do to help a family move forward.
Yeah, and providing those resources, obviously, for all the reasons that you just stated, are so vital, you know, to, you know, a community that feels supported and, you know, brings good things back to our community, or does good things within the community. I'm not saying that the people, obviously, that receive the services aren't good people. They're wonderful people. They're, you know, they're beautiful, you know, souls, but they're just, maybe some are just down on their luck, or they just don't know how to take that next step, and that's why you're here to help.
Well, some of it is fear too, the fear of the unknown. You know, well, what does it mean if I get an apartment and now I have to pay for rent and I might have to pay for insurance? How do I do all of that? That's kind of fearful. Or if I get a job, and wonder if I get sick, or if my child gets sick. And so there's all these fears that causes people a lot of times to not move forward to where they're at right now. And so we just want to encourage them and let them know, hey, we all go through fears. I go through fears, and I have a job. You know, and so we all have these fears, and we learned how to overcome them so we can be a better part. And also let them know they're deserving of it, because many times they don't feel they're deserving of it, and we prejudge them and make them feel like they're not deserving of it, instead of saying you are deserving of having a home and having your children taken care of, and you know, you can do it, we believe in you, and just giving them that belief in themselves.
Well, we are extraordinarily lucky to have you in our community helping with just exactly what you've been saying. You know, you're helping make Alpena a better place and the surrounding areas, so thank you. And your team for everything that you put forth.
Thank you.
And that's unfortunately all the time that we have. It goes quick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does. But thank you again for being here and talking about your wonderful program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay tuned after the break for Christine Witulski from the Besser Museum for Northeastern Michigan. Welcome back, everyone. My next guest is Christine Witulski from the Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Brad.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, thank you again for being here.
Thank you for the invite. It's always fun to come and talk to you.
Well, it's always fun to talk to you in the community, on the show, wherever we're at. We see each other quite a bit, just because of the work that we do, and you know, some of the projects too that you have going on in the community. I know you have a big, exciting one that's coming, or well, that actually just really got underway with phase 1 is your capital project. You want to give a little update?
Yes, well, I can appreciate that you understand capital projects, and as we're both on Johnson Street and a lot of facelift going on Johnson Street, and our capital project is really going forward in a good way, which was exciting to hear when we brought Split Rock Studios, they're our exhibit designers, into the museum. And it was really nice for them to come in and see the museum for the first time, and they were blown away. They could not believe that Northeast Michigan had the museum that we do and the art, history, science, and that we were set up there like Besser Museum is perfectly positioned to be successful in this endeavor. So that was really encouraging. And our committee has been working for several years intensively for the last few months just to kind of like, what is the story we want to tell? What do we want visitors to remember when they leave the museum? And our exhibit is going to cover like 11 thematic units, kind of like a timeline. And so when we hosted them and at the meeting, and we had about 20 people at this meeting, they were so impressed with the community involvement and how well prepared we were and how well we treated them. They're like, we don't get this kind of treatment. I thought, well, we're just so excited to have them here and to do a deep dive into what we want the exhibit to look like. So they will take all of this information back into their studios, and on May 9th, they'll come back with the first schematic for our exhibit.
Oh, that's
so it's interesting because if you saw our promotional, our fundraising campaign, that was Cornerstone Architects. Kind of, you have to work with architects and exhibit designers. And so that was kind of that first schematic of what we're doing. This is going to get a little bit more detailed and really talking about a kid-friendly, family-friendly area, the state-of-the-art 21st century modulars, units in there. And so we're really excited.
I saw some of the initial literature that you had about the capital campaign and about the project, and the 11 areas.
Yeah.
And it looks like really bringing a lot of the history, local history, the logging industry,
Yes.
some of those really cool aspects. Some of the things that are on display now.
Right.
But bolstering it like crazy.
Absolutely. And making it more kid-friendly. So that was the one thing that, they were like, okay, what kind of promises have you made, to the community? Because as we're working with our financial donors, our supporters, and just the community at large, it doesn't matter if you're donating $100 to $100,000. It's like, you're a part of really a amazing transformation that's going to be so beneficial to our community for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I said, one of the things we absolutely promised is it is going to be kid-friendly. And that when youngsters come in, they're going to have things that they can interact with at their age level. That parents are not going to have to be worried if their kids are like touching something, you're not going to hear that, don't touch, don't touch. And so they are going to, they heard what our wishes were, and we're really excited to see what they come back with for that first, are we heading in the right direction? So.
Yeah, it's so exciting because I have a grandfather who moved here from Maine several years ago, and for him to be able to go into the museum and learn about the local history, learn about the Great Lakes, learn about so many awesome things that are very specific to our area and the whole region around us, and the Native Americans and all those wonderful things. It is such a bright star in our community. And like you said, a lot of people just need to go and discover and know what is there, and then to see what that future forward thinking is.
Well, and it is interesting too for us to be able to work with content experts and people who are researching and developing content for the exhibit in their area of interest or expertise. And so talking to people that are skilled and knowledgeable in the fur trapping in that colonial period, working with individuals that are doing deep dive research into the Native Americans in Northeast Michigan, using the Haltiner collection, but to build forward into more contemporary families in the Native American exhibit, working with those who are experts in the forestry, in the lakes and the Thunder Bay River. So I'm learning as we go along, and it's just one of the things in our mission statement is to inspire curiosity and foster community pride. And this exhibit is going to have people from our area walking out being really proud of living in Northeast Michigan. If you've grown up here, if you're a transplant, if you work here, we just have a really remarkable Northeast Michigan that most of our own citizens don't have knowledge about. And so even our exhibit designers that are from Wisconsin, we're working with the same designers that helped NOAA when they opened and built those fantastic exhibits, like the big boat and that. Yeah, so Split Rock. And they were just like, Northeast Michigan, really, there's no place like Northeast Michigan. So that's what we're going to capture in this exhibit.
Well, and it's so important to make it kid-friendly. You know, like you were saying, is that, you know, the more that we educate the young people now, you know, the more, you know, adept they're going to be as they get older to understanding the ways, things that are around us, understanding the resources we have, and the history.
And the opportunities that are here, because one of the things that we want to highlight too are our industries, and also opportunities that you have to go, like at Alpena Community College, the Rural Creek Tech Center. They have, you know, ROV, underwater training, nursing, the electrical, you know, Alpena Power Company has been a long history industry here. And there's so many things that are still here today and that provide opportunity for our youth. And so it's not just going to be an awesome exhibit that has hands-on and youth activities, but it's also going to plant seeds of inspiration of what can you be when you grow up, which I love to ask kids about that when we talk about Jesse Besser. I'm sure when he was 15 years old, he didn't imagine that he was going to, you know, build this multi-million-dollar company that also established a multi-million-dollar Besser Foundation that still benefits our community. You talk about a legacy that we're all impacted by and that we're proud of. So that's kind of what I feel like this is also going to inspire at the museum. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. And you know, Bradley, as a fundraiser yourself, you know, the campaign and the fundraising is going well, but it's always that last little bit. And so if you haven't contributed or like to learn more about how you can make a donation to Impact and help us really be successful, you know, they can contact me at the Besser Museum, 356-2202, or go on our website and learn more about it.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch, because that was my next question, because unfortunately we are out of time. So our quick update became the whole segment, which is awesome. Because I think that it is so important that the community understands that, with these capital projects that are going on, it's helping our community get to a better place and helping the education of our young people that educates our all the way up. And I think it's extraordinarily important, especially your project, because it brings that history and that understanding of everything that's around us.
Right. It's that other piece, that arts, the culture, the history, the creating a sense of place. And you know what I do want people to know is we're still open for business. A lot of people think we're closed during this renovation, but it's actually that just wing of the museum is closed. So all the rest, the planetarium is open. We have a Beyond the Stars program March 31st. There's information on our website about that. Our art galleries are still open. Our non-juried art exhibit will have that People's Choice announcement on April 15th. So come on in and cast your vote. And coming in here pretty soon, we'll be able to open our fossil park up as soon as the snow is gone, and the outdoor exhibits will be open. So we are still open for business, but that part of the wing is closed while we're under renovation just on that.
Well, thank you so much for these wonderful updates.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, anytime. And honestly, thank you to your team as well for everything that they're doing. And unfortunately, that is the end of our segments. But I always enjoy the time that we get to talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Please stay tuned after the break for the ACC segment with Don McMaster.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Dr. Don McMaster, president of Alpena Community College, and I'd like to bring you up to speed on some of the things that have happened this week at ACC. It's spring break there, so no students around. But it would be a mistake to think that nothing has happened during the week. It's been a pretty hectic, productive, busy week. For me, I went out to Washington, D.C. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to lobby for two things. One is for the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation. That would be the group that represents the National Marine Sanctuaries. Of course, Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary is the one we know best, and I know best. So we visited with numerous Michigan senators and representatives. We touched base with Senator Peters, who's a huge fan of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. He visits often. He's dove on a shipwreck there. When he does his cruises through the state on his Harley with his staff, he often stops in Alpena at the Marine Sanctuary and at the college, actually, too. And Senator Peters, in the current environment in Washington, is a very influential senator and effective. He is on the Appropriations Committee, so that is one of maybe 15 or 20 senators who decide really how dollars are spent on the federal level. And so his involvement, his knowledge, both of Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary and the college is very helpful. And we spent a little time with him. We visited Senator Stabenow's office. She too is a supporter of Northern Michigan, the Marine Sanctuary, the college, and of course ag producers. Her role on the Ag Committee has been very influential over the years and been helpful to Northern Michigan. And we touched base with Congressman Bergman, who pointed out that he now represents 48% of the land mass of Michigan. I think he was, people don't realize until you're there and you spend a little time with these folks how busy, how many people like us come to see them, ask for things, ask for their attention, ask for them to be concerned. This happens nonstop all day long, every day. And it would tire a young person out. So these three are very influential. And Congressman Bergman also knows a lot about the sanctuary. He's been there. He's been on our campus. And some of the things we talked about in relation to the sanctuary were, how important it is to the economy of the region. The location of the new wreck a week before last, Ironton. The research that John O'Shea is doing on Amberley Ridge, that is just amazing and interesting stuff. And then the cruise liners, the Viking cruises that are came in last summer, and more than twice as many this summer. These are people who by definition are not Alpena people, who are coming to Alpena with resources. They'll land, they'll walk through town, they'll buy things, they'll see the sanctuary, the activity center there. So all of these things are forward-leaning and speak well for Superintendent Jeff Gray and his team. They do a great job. While we were there, I also had the opportunity to advocate for ACC things with these three influential legislators. And the main federal thing that the ACC is interested in is an earmark, which would be a line item that would be sponsored by one or more of these legislators. And the earmark, it would be help us fund an additional unit of student housing. This project would cost an estimated $4 million and would give us beds, you might say, for 32 more students. It would also provide a standalone kind of meeting place for students that we don't really currently have. So the federal earmark process is now in its third year. We got an earmark for Oscoda campus in the first year. And now this year we're seeking federal support to fund half of the $4 million cost of adding more housing. So keep your fingers crossed. ACC certainly could stand more housing. Our most recent data showed that we had 140 students that wanted housing, and we have housing for 64 students. So what happened to those 80, what happened to those students that didn't get housing? It's hard for them to find a place to live. So all in all, a very productive, busy week for me at ACC, and keep your fingers crossed. I hope we can get some funding for student housing in the near future. Thank you folks for watching Talk of the Town, and we'll see you again next week.
This has been Talk of the Town with your hosts Bradley Summers and Dr. Don McMaster. For a list of community events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at WBKB11.com and click on our community link. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production. All rights reserved.